I'll get started then, because we've just gone 4 o'clock. So today we're looking at discovering Phonics Shed. So this is for people that are looking for a systematic synthetic phonics scheme for their school, or you just want to know the main features of Phonics Shed. Maybe you've moved to a school that uses Phonics Shed and you just want to know a bit more about it. But if you already have Phonics Shed and you're looking for more training on it, we've got other things that might be more helpful, like an introduction to Phonics Shed or the Ready, Set, Go training. They might be really helpful for you to have a look at. If you need help finding where they are, just ask at the end and I will direct you to those. So Phonics Shed is a systematic synthetic phonics scheme that introduces the GPCs that children need to learn through our wonderful characters. We have a range of different characters and these all come with their own story and action as well. So it is a validated phonics scheme. It's approved by the Department for Education and it is a narrative-based scheme, all based on our teaching books, and we have our decodable reading scheme too. We also have online elements like online games, but also tools to help teachers like assessment tools. This is a little snippet from one of our Phonics Shed stories that introduces the scheme to the children.
Hello, hello. My name is Joe. It is very nice to meet you. Welcome to my home, the Phonics Shed, where I keep a close eye on everyone. Today is a busy day. Are you ready? Off we go.
So we've got the chapters as well. The chapters are like the phases if you're used to letters and sounds, but there are some changes, so I'll talk through all of that. So all our chapters are colour coded so that you know what resources link to which chapters. Chapter 1 is our blue chapter. This is the pre-reading and writing skills. It includes speaking, listening, motor skills and book handling skills as well. It's very similar to letters and sounds phase 1. Chapter 2 is the orange one. That's the first grapheme phoneme correspondences that the children learn. So all those letter sound links. It's the initial ones with all of the single letters. And we also include some simple digraphs like CK and QU in there, and the letter names at the same time as children learning the sounds. It is very like letters and sounds phase 2, although we have moved some bits from phase 3 into our chapter 2. This is things like the J, V, W, so that all the single letters are together in that chapter 2. Chapter 3 is the purple one. This is the more complex digraphs and trigraphs, and we introduce at least one grapheme for every phoneme apart from the j phoneme, which comes a little bit later. So it's very similar to letters and sounds phase 3. Then we move on to chapter 4, and chapter 4 is split into 3 sections. Chapter 4A is the main alternate graphemes for the phonemes that we already know. It's a bit like letters and sounds phase 5A with some additional GPCs in there, like ARE, making the air sound in hair and dare, or EY, making the E sound like in turkey. Chapter 4B is the alternative pronunciations for the known graphemes. So that's things like knowing that C, it normally makes the K sound, but it can sometimes make the S sound like in nice. It also includes the final phoneme j in here, like in the word decision with that j sound in the middle. It's a bit like letters and sounds, phase 5B, with some additional GPCs in there as well. Now, chapter 4C is a wider range of alternate graphemes for each phoneme, with a focus on reading and spelling more complex words. So it's like letters and sounds phase 5C and a little bit of 6 as well, progressing into that spelling in Spelling Shed 2. Now, you will notice that we haven't got a phase 4 because letters and sounds phase 4 skills are embedded within all of our chapters all the way along. So children will get those consonant blends in right from the beginning of the scheme. It is a narrative-based scheme, so it's based on our teaching books that go through each GPC. And it is also multi-sensory, so as well as the books and stories that we've got actions, we've got songs to match with them, we've got formation animations and formation rhymes to match them, physical elements like physical copies of our flashcards, our books, but also the puppet Joe, who might really help engage the children, and online games too. The decodable reading scheme is right from chapter 1 with some wordless books up to 4B with books to match each set that you are teaching in the scheme. And it is research-based phonics. So there's lots and lots of research that has gone into building our phonics scheme. This is just one element. The Mesmer and Kambach research from 2022 looked at how children learn the blending and the segmenting skills and the strategies for doing this. And we've incorporated that using our Sound It, Squash It, Say It, and Say It, Stretch It, Sound It posters. This is to stop children not really knowing what the blending skill is and going from that sound it at to saying a random word like dog. So that's the purpose of these. The firm foundations is a strong belief of Phonics Shed. So this starts with our chapter 1 skills. We have an introduction to Phonics Shed with Joe. Then we go on to environmental sounds, motor skills, which is fine and gross motor skills. Our bodies, so clicking rhythms, clapping, things like that. Our voices and stories, rhyme and rhythm. From left to right, initial sounds and beginning to blend and segment. So progressing more towards these skills that you would associate with systematic synthetic phonics, but these foundations really help to build towards that. Then it's on to the Grapheme phoneme correspondences. We start by teaching that simple alphabetic code, which is in chapter 2 and chapter 3. And then we progress onto that complex alphabetic code using chapter 4A, B, and C. The lessons all have a particular sequence to keep that structure and keep it really consistent for the children. We start with a recap, which is a maximum of 5 minutes, and the same for the introduction. Then it's a whole group activity, so we're doing lots of modelling in that section. The independent activity where children can apply the skills that we've just been learning through the introduction and whole group. And then a plenary to recap and consolidate that learning for the day. Even within our lesson parts, we've got a clear structure. So each new GPC is introduced in the same way. We talk about C in the new character, the sound that it makes, the name, the letter S, and the action to go with it. And the whole group, we look at the story, the formation, and the song in every lesson that includes all of these elements. The independent activities all have 3 levels with them. So there's a simplify, an expect, and an extend. You can choose to use the ones that are appropriate for your class. You can just use one of the levels if you want to, or you can use all 3, how you want to use them. And we talk a lot about best fit. So when we introduce a GPC in Phonics Shed and it's a new grapheme for a sound or a phoneme that the children already know, we tell the children which ones you want to be using when. So for the oi sound, you normally use the OI in the middle or at the start of words, and the OY is more common at the end of words, but it does appear anywhere in words sometimes. So we're just giving them a little bit of guidance on when to use which one, and so they can start seeing it in more words too. Every lesson is planned for you. You get a weekly overview, but there is also a full lesson plan for each lesson, which is really clearly laid out. And our new launch planning from September will include symbols so that you know exactly what skill you're learning and focusing on at each point. They're designed to be delivered whole class. So rather than little groups of phonics teaching, we recommend whole class phonics teaching. We've got lots of resources to support the lessons. You've got sound mats, and there are so many variations of them. You can have them with all the characters, or just with the grapheme characters, or completely plain like that one at the bottom. And you can have them with the high frequency words on or without. So many options. We've got This Week We Are learning cards so that you can share with the parents what you're doing that week. And we've got things like book box labels and lots of other really helpful resources. Our online assessment tool allows you to easily track the GPCs that you're teaching. So you can see all your children in your class and which GPCs they can do and which ones they maybe need help with. And you can target the intervention there when you need to. And this is also available for high frequency words. And we've got our phonics screening check simulator, which is just like the real phonics screening check in year 1. The consolidation and intervention planning is included with it. So consolidation planning is for the whole class. If most of your class are struggling with an objective, you've got another lesson that you can use to go over that particular objective to help them cement that idea. And the intervention is designed for one-to-one or small group interventions, and that can be used at different points throughout the day, and it's a targeted 10-minute session to try and fill those gaps. We've got digital and physical copies of our resources. So if you want to teach purely physically, using just the flashcards, just the books and the puppet, you can order all that stuff. You will need to access the lesson plans online, but for actually delivering the lesson, you could do it without a computer altogether. Or you might like to be the other way and want to do it all digitally. We have all the books as ebooks as well. We've got our online flashcard tool. You can still use all of these things as a digital resource, or you can mix and match the both between your lesson to what suits you. So Phonics Shed is all about setting children up for success. So as you'll have seen from the lesson sequence earlier, the lessons are 30 minutes. Now the reading framework does say about an hour of phonics teaching, but phonics is not just about this discrete phonics teaching of introducing the GPCs, it's also about getting it into our English. So by giving you 30 minutes, you've got time to incorporate this into other lessons like your wider English. And we also do lots of focus on these different alternatives. So here we're looking at all those A's and moving on to that 4C where we're looking at all of these alternatives. Really helps to set the children up for spelling later on. And that moves us on to Spelling Shed as well, which is available from year 1 to year 6. And this matches up really nicely with Spelling Shed. It's all designed to work together. So there's lots of reasons why you should choose Phonics Shed, but I've picked some out from some of our Phonics Shed schools of why they think you should be using Phonics Shed. So this one is from Mel Hill in Rochford Primary. She said, using Phonics Shed has engaged our teachers and learners. The delivery of the scheme by our teachers was praised in our recent Ofsted inspection. Children in early years learn phonics from the moment they start school. Teachers use well-established routines to help children learn new sounds, carefully using repetition, rhymes and movement. The benefit of using one consistent scheme across the whole school is clear to see. Children are engaged and enjoying the rhymes and the characters. It gives children lots of hooks to remember the sounds by. So this is from Newlands Primary School. And finally from Charford, they said recent screening checks show how improved scores. Children are becoming more confident readers and parents are commenting on this. The programme is giving a real sense of consistency across the school and the planning is improving teachers' subject knowledge. The data is very helpful to identify gaps and plan what consolidation or intervention is needed. So if you are interested in Phonics Shed, you can find all of our pricing on the website. So if you just go to EdShed and click on the store or get a quote, then you can find our physical resources in the store, or you can find the digital access on the get a quote. Now we do also sell Phonics Shed in packs, so you can buy the pack for a class, so one pack does one class, which will include all of the books and flashcards, any of our posters that you need, the Puppet Joe, the full guidance binder, and it includes 12 months digital access with those packs. So part 1 is designed for a nursery class or a reception class. It includes chapters 1, 2 and 3. Part 2 is designed for a Key Stage 1 class. So it's chapters 4A and B and C. And it is all in that pack. So you'd need one for year 1 and one for year 2 if you have separate years there. You can also buy the separate digital access at £2 per pupil per year. plus that, and then you get all that digital access. So that's the planning, the resource downloads, digital teaching resources, decodable ebooks, and the assessment tracker and more. If you want to find out more, you can always email support@edshed.com as well to find out any more. I'll just have a look, see if we've got any questions. But thank you very much for joining us today.